Hi, everybody. This is Tom with Culture Chap. So today I'm going to bring you a play called The Liar by David Ives. An excellent play. So I'm going to jump into the bad parts first because I've seen a couple of strange reviews about this. So I'm telling you now in case this play isn't for you. Um, so I have recommended a few plays, a couple, that are rhyming couplets. And a few people have said, like, or people can't handle that. Well, you wanted something that sells, and you wanted something like it, but you need the talent to do it. So, David Ives, this play is in rhyming couplets. So, what I want to say is that the few reviews I read about this play, mostly excellent reviews. And when I asked people personally if it's sold for the theater, they said, oh, yes, it always sells out. But reviewers this day and age, we sort of shouldn't pay attention to, but with the economy the way it is, reviewers count. So the lack of newspapers and so forth, reviewers count more than we think, and you should have your most talented people do this because it's language heavy. Now, it's not precious language, but the rhyming couplets have to be handled correctly. So the bad reviews, mostly concentrate on the fact that they said sophomoric or stupid. Some of the reviews, because some of the language, the way it rhymes, which of course I'm blanking on the example, but here's how it worked. The gist of it. I believe that David Ives rhymes one end of sentence with courgette. Courgette, that means zucchini. And then the next part that ends up being the rhyme of the couplet, the guy says, I'll go down the road. Et. Rodette. So, yeah, he's making up a nonsensical word that doesn't really exist, so he can rhyme the couplet. So I can see if you're a bitter reviewer and you saw a bad production where they really couldn't handle the style of this play, then yes, rhyming doesn't seem good. And I see a lot of companies doing rhyming couplets of different shows where basically the one character handles the entire rhyme themselves. This one isn't like that. This one is back and forth like regular conversation where one person says blah blah courgette and the next person says blah blah I'll go down the road at. Um, so it's a bit like wink wink, there's the rhyme, but they don't treat it preciously. It's just sort of a matter of fact. Is the conversation is more important than landing on the rhyme because some people land on the rhymes in rhyming couplets like boom, here it is. I'm a pentameter, da 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 da, rhyme. Next person, da 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 da, rhyme. And they hit the rhyming word really hard, which is just not this piece. And it's not the best acting. They know the rhyme is there. The audience is looking for it. They're tuning into it. It's meant to be entertaining. It's meant to be something fun. Um, that's why the American theater, they didn't create musicals, but musicals have grown out of organic things, like the Greeks' original theater, where things were verse and words were chosen to be pleasing language, which is a natural parent to the American musical and even Hamilton. Um, these words were chosen to have emphasis and catch you and rhyme sometimes, and maybe not rhyme sometimes to catch you again, going, that's not so perfect. Um, in an interesting manner, pleasing to the ear. If you don't hire talented people to do this play, it will not work. If you treat the rhymes as very precious language and hit the rhyme every time, it will not work. It's there, it's in the structure, don't worry about it. Um, when I say hire your most talented people, I have seen a lot of things recently where there's actors saying, I'm always in the ensemble. I don't know why. So I said yes to a show, and then I stomped out mid rehearsal to make my point that I should have leads. This is a familiar story. You'll never get leads that way. You're not a team player. There might be a reason you're always in the ensemble. If you're a director or casting agent who think, that's a very good ensemble person, I'm going to stick them in this piece. This may not be that piece. There are other pieces for them, but something that's language heavy, that, and again, not heavy, just particular. And one has to be careful with it. Those are the inexperienced actors who are going to hit the rhyme hard, and that influences other actors, and you have to keep on top of this. And this piece, this comedy, has some slapstick, some farce. It kind of samples everything and has its own feeling. It has its own style. So you need experienced people to do this piece. So the piece itself, The Liar, is an adaptation. Now, it is... I'm getting other people too saying, oh, well, it's David Ives' adaptation, and it's not so faithful to the original. Well, the original by Pierre Corneille was not the original. So this is 1700s. I think it's 1644. It'll all be in the description. And he adapted this piece from another playwright who had this piece, a Spanish piece, who I think was done the year before or 10 years before. And Pierre, I think, is very funny. He did some great plays. He did it according to that time period, and the jokes and the situations are really particular to that time period and that style that was happening then. Would you think like, oh, Moliere? It's like, well, remember that a lot of plays at that time, the characters don't really change. They don't really have an arc. It's more a slice of life and they stay the same. That's not this play. Okay? Pierre makes me laugh because he was from a family of lawyers and he was meant to be a lawyer. And you can see him saying, you know, I think I'm very clever and I'm very funny. And I know you spent a lot to educate me to be a lawyer, but I'm going to write a play. Well, not write one. I'm going to adapt it from that Spanish guy's play. I'm going to make it better because I'm funnier, which he was. And to just get a direct translation is not going to work for you. I know why you're doing that. I know you really would like to choose a classical piece where you don't have to pay the playwright. These days with the economy globally, it would be nice if you didn't have to pay someone on doing these pieces. This isn't that piece. There are many translations out there, but you won't be happy with them. They're very dated. The situations lack what you need. David Ives' piece, I did a video last week which went crazy, called Lemonade Knives, encouraging theaters like you to do evening of one acts, including David Ives, and another piece, Lemonade. David Ives has proven himself. This piece has proven itself. If you land in one of those bad reviews, realize what I'm saying and look at it and go, perhaps it was done by a very good theater, but they did it differently than I would do it. I want to embrace all of this play and realize what I'm looking at and not just think, oh, rhyming couplets, or oh, it's a slapstick. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of good things. And when done right, when done carefully, when done with extreme humor, it's done well. The play is about Durant. He's come to Paris, and he's an exquisitely gifted pathological liar. He picks up a servant, a valet, and this man cannot lie. And he says, Durant, please teach me how to lie. And fantastic scene. And Durant is a good-looking cad, but not in the same sense of the other plays you've done, where there's a good-looking cad, and they basically just trade on their looks. That's not this guy. He's far more interested in his own wit, his own cleverness, and he's a bit of the fly by the seat of my pants kind of character, where he doesn't know what he's going to say next, and you have to do that with the acting. It can't feel practiced. That's not this character. He's very interested in where he's going next and letting his brain take over with the talent that he has, and never really pat himself on the back. There's none of those scenes. There might be, but that's not this guy. The He's interested in himself in a wonderful way, and he wants the girl. He's not a serial Lothario. He's not seducing a lot of girls. And there's mistaken identity. He's a Clarice or Latrice. And there are two girls that like kind of mess with him and mess with themselves. There's parents. He's very interesting. Some of these lies are a whole page and a half. If you have someone who's cocky, which you might think he is, it's not going to work. You're going to get bored with him. And the trick of directing this piece or acting this part or any of these parts is that it is off the cuff. And it can't feel rehearsed or practiced. It has to feel fresh every time, or else the piece doesn't work. Everyone has to like him. And you think, well, that's written into the play. Well, your audience has to like him. And if they feel he's too cocky or too something or too practiced, it's not going to work. We have to be interested in him and see what he's going to do next. That's part of the joy and the magic of this piece, is that you are really interested in him and how it's all going to play out. He's creating not nightmare situations, but he's creating chaos with his lies. And I won't say he gets his comeuppance exactly, and I won't say he doesn't grow, but it's growing in a different way. And the end result is that people catch on. They don't spend a lot of time wreaking havoc for vengeance. Their motivation is to get him to tell the truth, which is very cleverly done, because then all the other characters of the play, they all lie to get him to tell the truth, which is very interesting. It's a really good piece. It's not a huge cast. It doesn't need extras. You can do all different kinds of sets. That's a lot of locales, so be careful with what you're doing. I wouldn't modernize it. There's no need for that. It doesn't quite work language-wise to modernize it in modern dress. It needs a flavor of however you see that, of period dress. Some people are doing very loose flavors of period dress, but it really makes sense in that world. Okay? You don't have to ruin the bank to bust your budget by making it all period costume. A flavor of period costume. It's its own little thing, without getting too precious. If it's over-designed, it's not going to work because it's more about the language. But you have to make a pretty picture because he's so enamored of where he's coming to, Paris, and the pretty people and their interesting clothes and so forth. You know, with that, whatever that means to you. Elegant clothes, whimsical clothes. It's up to you. It won't break the bank. It won't bust your budget. But it needs clever design and very talented actors. The Liar by David Ives. I think you'll like it. All right. Please come back for more. And hey, if you want to go see the video I just did, Lemonade Ives, please look back at my videos. There's a lot of videos. I've been on YouTube now for a year today. So there's a lot of videos down there. And there's a lot of script suggestions which I sort of transferred into. And there's a few videos where I'm scolding you for not learning your lines. And there's a few videos where I'm telling you, hey, you always have to audition no matter what. That's a good video. That was popular. And please have a look. All right. We'll talk again. Thanks. Bye.